Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Village Law SEQFC preview show. My name is Darren Lutton, and it's a Wednesday, Eka show day holiday. We're doing the show during the day. We normally do it in the evening. The Tillies are on tonight, so we've had to reschedule. So very exciting times. Everyone's got butterflies. We're all excited for tonight's game. But we've still got some local stuff happening that we need to talk about, and we've got a cavalcade of guests from all over southeast Queensland to have a chat to about it. Let's start with the Brisbane City coach, Karl Dodd. G'day, Karl.
Darren, boys, how are we?
How you going, mate?
Good. Now, mate, last time we had a chat, you were the national coach of Guam. Tell me what happened since then.
A lot. Had a daughter, and that changes everything, as you know. So that's what's happened. So
Right, so you had a daughter and decided that it was time to come back home, yeah?
Yeah, well, just stuck in COVID. Well, COVID was on, and I was about to go into a World Cup bubble for 3 months, and I'm not going to leave my wife and daughter in Guam for 3 months. So we just made a decision, family first, and just came back to Australia.
Fantastic. How long did it take you to get the Brisbane City gig?
Don't know. This is the first season I've been there, so I was having a break. I'd come back and I helped out with the Newcastle Jets for a little bit. And then I had a break for about 8 months. And then, yeah, it just came about when I think Matt left to go to the Raw.
Yeah, right. And how's it been at Brisbane City? You've enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's a good challenge. Like every club has its challenges, but there's been a lot of work behind the scenes this year. So in one sense, kind of just hoping the season ends up so we can move forward. But, it's a necessary evil this year.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the season's doing all right for you. You've would you say it's been a slow build during the season?
I think it's been probably more like a yo-yo. We've had plenty of good times and then low times, but I think we've just failed to capitalise at key points throughout the season where we should have won. And, yeah, that's why we sit where we sit in the ladder.
Having said that, you're still 3 points out of the top four with 2 rounds to go. Who have you got in your last 2 rounds?
We have Sunshine Coast this Sunday, and then we finish with Gold Coast United.
Right. Okay, so some tough games there, but you think that's enough to get you through?
Well, I was kind of hoping we had enough to get through a few weeks ago, but look, you just don't know in this league. Anyone can beat anyone. It's whether and who turns up as well. So, look, we'll give it everything we've got to try to win the next 2 games, and hopefully Lions drop some points. But yeah, see what happens.
What have you made of the season this year, Karl?
Beg your pardon?
What have you made of the season this year?
I think the ladder shows how tight it is. Ridiculously tight. And the fact that a club like Olympic has been relegated, I don't think you ever would have picked that at the start of the year. So, no, it's very tight. I mean, like I said, I think everyone can beat anyone on their day, and that's been shown. So, which is a good sign that it's a lot more tighter and more exciting to watch rather than having blowouts and knowing that you're going to get 3 points against certain teams. I think it's good. The balance is there. So,
yeah, and just on that, we've got Daniel Pennisi with us, who's the assistant coach at Peninsula Power, who's just 1 point behind you. And who'd have thought that after, say, week 8? G'day, Dan.
Dazza, how are you, mate?
Good. Mate, what a turnaround.
Yeah, we just I think we're undefeated since April at this stage with 2 games to go. I guess we've given them an 8-game head start. So it's difficult to chase, but I think the guys have done a tremendous job in getting to where we are, and we're not finished yet.
Yeah, and so you too now have an outside chance of the semi-finals as the Sunshine Coast Wanderers. It's been an absolutely crazy year, right?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, to think, I think round 8 or round 9 that Olympic were ahead of us on the points table. So it's one of those seasons this year.
And tell us about the Australia Cup experience.
Oh, well, can't hide the fact that we're bitterly disappointed. I mean, we're definitely proud of the effort, and more so the way we went about things. I think if you'd watch the game, you'd see we didn't sit back and park the bus. We had a real real go. The first 20 minutes, Wellington probably was difficult for our guys to adjust minute one. So it took us a little bit to get used to the increased tempo playing against a professional side. But there was certainly periods of the game where we felt we had the better of them, and to concede in the 119th minute the way we did, when I think we had every opportunity to not just draw but close out that game with a victory. Look, it's disappointing, and you think what may have been, but at the end of the day, from where we've come this season to where we are now, it's still a tick of approval for us, I think.
Karl, I'll bring you back into this. With a couple of weeks to go, it's been a long season. What do you do with your coaching sessions? Are they lighter sessions now, or are you still training at a high intensity?
Well, we're always setting up to try to beat the opposition, but no, we're not dropping the load, because this year is about, for us in particular, is about investing load into the players. A lot of them aren't used to the level that I'm after, so we're using this year as a building year for the ones that we'll keep for next year. So no, we're not dropping the load in that sense. So we have a bigger picture at play. So obviously next year, players should all be able to tolerate, and we can work a lot more. So yeah.
All right, Daniel, have you been doing the same?
Well, sort of our loading's the same as it has been previously. It's just there's a lot of tired legs. We've had a couple of Sunday games, and obviously the Wellington game. And as I said to our guys, the average downtime in 90 minutes of football in NPL, according to YStat data, can be like 42 minutes of actual downtime where neither team has the ball. In 120 minutes versus Wellington, there was only 21 minutes of downtime. So to give you an idea of the intensity of the game, so there was a few tired legs from that. So we do monitor, but I guess we don't put the same tar with the same brush. Certain players need certain things. So there's a fair bit of the squad that need to be pushed at high intensity all the time. And then some of the other players do need to be managed depending on their load. So we've certainly done that. Last night was a good example of that.
Yeah, right. Now, we've been talking to the two coaches there that are currently 5th and 6th of the ladder. Got Pat Hedges with us today. G'day, Pat.
Hey, Darren. Gents.
Now, what's your role at nights?
I'm the TD, and I work very closely with Scott with the senior setup as well.
So, and you are, of course, top of the ladder, 5 points ahead with 2 rounds to go. Exciting times at the Croatia club.
It is, but do you know what? And I've said this to Scott, I'm glad we're having a tough game every week, because if you look historically, and Peninsula Power won the league and then they didn't win another game with games in hand. Lions did the same thing. So we may not wrap up the league until this weekend. So it's kept us sharp. Let's put it this way. There's been no celebrations. It just kept us sharp. So I'm quite happy with the way things have gone personally. Others may agree.
As a coach.
Pardon?
Tell us about Scott McDonald as a coach.
I've worked with some coaches, and he'd be up there as number one. He's relentless, and I think Karl would appreciate this from the fact that he's a perfectionist. He not only coaches tactics, he coaches the individual as well. So he sees details, and he's making the players better as well as the team. Me personally, I'm suitably impressed. Very, very passionate. Very, very, very passionate. And leaves no stone unturned. He's at it 24/7.
That's what you want to see. Your job as a TD must be easy then, Pat.
Easy, did you say?
Yeah.
No, the senior side of things is easy, but the junior side of things, that's a different matter, isn't it? So you're dealing with customers there, aren't you?
Tell us what you've made of the league this season.
Like the boys have said before, it's been very, very, very tight. I think we started hitting our straps probably midway through, and we're lucky we've got a big squad. We're disappointed that we've dropped points, but everybody comes to us, or the majority of teams come to us, and basically sit in and try and beat us on the break, which I find a little bit frustrating. But there you go. You still have to win the game, don't you? So, but it's been a much tighter league. Hats off to Dan and boys at Penn Power, because they've really turned things around there. And the same with Karl. Probably of all the teams, I think. How many times we played you, Karl? 4 or 5 times?
Yeah, too many.
Yeah, too many. That's exactly why we didn't want to meet you in the finals, because we played you too many times. But you've turned Brisbane City around as well, so it's very, very dangerous. Look, a lot more money's flooding into the NPL now, isn't it? And there's a lot more high-profile people, and with the money and with the high profile comes the expectation as well, doesn't it? And with the expectation comes the pressure. So the Gold Coast Knights don't like finishing second. Let's put it that way. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, we've got Moreton Bay United back in the top 4. Gold Coast United back in the top 4. Those Gold Coast games, it must be fantastic for everyone down on the coast.
Yeah, the derby games, that they are, but like all derby games, there's not a lot of football played, because I think everyone's still too busy trying to kick each other, you know. So they're very, very feisty affairs. But they've been Gold Coast United came and gave us a touch-up game 1. Probably did us a favour, actually, because it changed their mindset a little bit. And then we did the same to them down at Complex Park. So, but great crowds. The derby games are good.
And just quickly touch on your Australia Cup match, a 1-0 win over Devonport.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone watched the game, but we actually rested. We were playing 3 games in that week, and obviously the league is the priority. So we actually played 5 of the younger players or fringe players in that game from the start. So look, it didn't look like we were going to lose at any time, but 1-0 is never enough either, is it? So it got squeaky the last 5-10 minutes. But we got the job done, so happy with that. And a great draw, by the way, Western United. So John Aloisi's.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. Looking forward to that.
And a home game.
Let's quickly just run through some of the other leagues now. NPL women's ladder. 7 points on top. There's 2 matches to go, so they can't beat any. Looks like all positions are all taken up there. Peninsula Power and Eastern Suburbs Peninsula Power still could overtake East for second place. Daniel, got anything to say about the Power women's team?
Oh, they've done terrifically well after sort of Alex not being able to return to it. Nick's done a terrific job, and I mean, performance has been great. What happened in that Lions game is something that none of us ever expected when they were up 4-0 with, I think, 4 goals within 15 minutes or so. It was just boom, boom. So they've been really good to watch. They've got plenty of heart, some real good firepower up front. So, we really, really hope they can go all the way this year. They've done very well.
The only remaining interest in
Can't hear you. Sorry, Darren.
Getting these ladders up. So many to go through. Brisbane City, of course, premiers. Not too much interest there in the FPL women. Logan Lightning still could make the top 4 over Broadbeach. There we go. FQPL 1. Pat, I'm going to bring you back in here. Surfers Paradise, they've had a fantastic year, losing only 2 games so far this season. 4 points ahead of points, 2 rounds to go.
You're going to have to move a bit closer to the speaker, Darren, because you keep fading out.
Really? Okay. Surfers Paradise. Good.
Yeah, they've had a great season. They've found it a little bit tougher this year because they've had a couple of years of, I don't think, even dropping a game. They've kept the majority of their players. They play all their home games out of the Knights because there's now a relationship between the Gold Coast Knights and Surfers Paradise. So most of their home games have been played out of the Gold Coast Knights venue at the moment. Look, they've had a tremendous season. Both their squads, their under 23s of I don't think may have dropped one game as well. So what did you tell you about the Gold Coast? Let's be honest, the teams, all the teams on the Gold Coast are up the top of all their respective leagues, aren't they? So it's a good sign for the region.
Yeah, we've been singing your praises all year, Pat. How's the relationship with Surfers Paradise? They being good tenants?
Yeah, well, they just play their games there. Yeah, they're okay. It's everyone knows everybody down on the Gold Coast, don't they? So there's no secrets down here. We all know what each other's doing.
And of course, in the SEQFC, Broadbeach won the premiership. Smashing it.
Yeah, their coach, Leighton Speechley Price, who just come over this year, has done a fantastic job. George Prendergast, who's their, I suppose, their sponsor, has done a great job supporting them with whatever they need. They're into the sports science. They've lifted the level of professionalism up there through the roof. So. And it's shown by how well they've done in the league this year as well. So bear in mind, when they made that step from QPL 3 into QPL 2, they had to lose 2 or 3 visa players because prior to that, they had 5 visa players. So, he's rebuilt a team, made a couple of key signings and kept his stalwarts and he's been well resourced, so he's done a great job. Him and his staff and the backroom people have done a tremendous job. Deserve everything they've achieved.
Through the sports science at Knights there, Pat. I mean, most clubs will have their VO set up and maybe a little thing on the back of their jersey where they track the distance that they cover and all that sort of thing. Do Gold Coast Knights go any further than that?
We work very closely. We do all of that, but we work very closely with Jess Norton of Physiologic. Jess has had experience in the A-League back in the day with Gold Coast United, and she's worked with David Battersby. So yeah, we really watch the players loading, especially this year, because it seems like game after game after game after game after game. And that even where possible, we even try and look after their mental state as well a little bit. So when you've got 16 players that can all play first team, you have to keep everyone happy.
Yeah,
which can be difficult sometimes. So we do what we can with the resources we have, which is probably as good or better than most, and also you've got to have the expertise as well. So we've got a good S&C bloke that Nick Murray that used to work at the Lions. He looks after our strength and conditioning, and then I look after the VO and the GPS and all the other bits and pieces. So
Daniel and Karl, I'll throw that question to you guys as well. Is there, apart from what I've mentioned, is there any other special sports science technology that you guys employ?
Karl?
I think most clubs do the same. I mean, the gym's a big one for us. Velocity-based training stuff we use in there for monitoring, but no, there's GPS that's across the league and like RPEs, wellness checks, things like that. I think it's pretty standardized now. it's a costing as well. Like, yeah, we all have VO and Y Scout and analysis as well, so we try to pair it all together. But it's a what are the financial resources like, and then also the human resources. There's a big drop from working professionally to NPL, and it's very hard, and you end up wearing 10 hats if you're lucky. So yeah, it can be draining, but yeah, I think clubs are doing a lot better. It's showing on the pitch. So
yeah, same as from a power perspective. I think each club's got the analysis access with Y Scout, VO, etc. It's how you use it. We're fortunate enough to have sports science. We also have one of our staff who's a qualified doctor, another who's qualified in sort of the mental health aspect of things. So I'd like to think that we offer mainly through skill sets that the existing group of coaches and management have a lot of stuff outside. There's also some career advice that's given to guys as well, and one to students. So we try and offer a more holistic approach because it can't all be about money. So that's sort of our angle at Power, is to make sure the well-being of the player, their family, and hopefully their future outside of football is moving along.
All right, guys, thank you for that. We might move on now to the FQ. Was it FQ North and South? I'm going to get that right one day. We'll bring in another two guests here. We've got Shane Brotherton from Moggill, who's the head coach there. G'day, Shane.
G'day, Darren. G'day, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, mate.
No worries. And we've got Corey Lovewell, who's the coach there at Pine Rivers. G'day, Corey.
How you going, guys?
Great to have you guys with us. Now, let's run through each of the leagues, and I'll, if you guys have got something to throw in, please jump in. So, the FQPL 3, we've got Bayside United 6 points ahead over Pine Hills. They can't be beaten. Did you expect Bayside to win the league this year?
Corey,
Yes,
you
no,
go, mate. That's
maybe.
not my league.
It's not really my league as well. Yeah, well, Bayside have really sort of recruited well. Yeah, there's really nothing I can say about it because I'm not in that league.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think
Yeah.
watching a little bit from afar, we keep an eye on the teams above us, who might be coming down. If we had the opportunity to go up, that a lot of these clubs in that 3-4 level seem to it rides around investment. So if they're going to try and win the league, they're going to invest heavily, and we've found that even in FQPL 4 with Brisbane Knights securing some talent from the NPL last year to really give them an ultimate season where they didn't. I think they've dropped 2 games now, but I think the same with Bayside. I think they invested heavily in their player roster, and beating sides like Pine Hills and UQ as they did along the way is quite dramatic in results. So yeah.
Yeah, with one round to go in that league, I guess the interest is in that 4th place. Centenary Stormers are on 33 points, UQ on 31, and North Pine on 30. North Pine need a massive win to get their goal difference ahead of Centenary Stormers. Centenary Stormers clearly in the box seat, but it's still possible there for UQ if they can beat Pine Hills. Centenary Stormers are playing North Brisbane.
Great effort from the Stormers, though, Darren.
Sorry?
Great effort from the Stormers. I think they were, there was rumours going around that, a bit pundits predicting them for a relegation battle. So the Sutherland boys have done a good job there, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. We had them on the show at the beginning of the year, which is great. All right, FQPL 3, Metro Women, Sanford Rangers are the premiers, Springfield United, second, Geelong 3rd, Holland Park 4th. Again, the battle is for that 4th place. Southside Eagles and Holland Park battling for that 4th place. Let's have a chat about the FQPL 4. Shane, this is a ripper league.
Yeah, look, it's I guess all leagues have their battles, but any day of the week, it seems like any side can win. When you've got clubs the size of the Gap not performing throughout the season, then causing a couple of upsets towards the end, they could still stay up. There's a fight at the top of the table. There's a fight at the bottom of the table. It's a challenge. I mean, from a Moggill perspective, I like to think we punch above our weight a little bit. We're a bit of a cul-de-sac, for players to come out to. There's only one way in, one way out. But we've got a really young squad. Feels like we've had a young squad for the past 3-4 years. But we're hopeful of promotion this year. And if we hadn't dropped a couple of games, which, on paper we possibly shouldn't have, we would have been in the hunt. It's like I think we dropped a game to Tarragindi at their place, which, if it won that game, we would have been really in the hunt for promotion. Springfield came through and sort of snuck away on us, and I guess that's a learning for the lads. But we were the only side to beat Brisbane Knights for the middle of the season, up until last week when Springfield surprisingly beat them 6-1. I don't know what you can read into that result, but that was a bit strange. It's anyone can win on the day. I think in our level, what I've been talking to my boys about is discipline and trying to manage games. Someone mentioned before, I think it was Pat, said about, it gets into a bit of a kicking contest sometimes, and we see a lot of that happen at that level, whether it's the experienced players knowing what to do to the younger fellas or to upset them. That comes to fruition. So we see a lot of cards, a lot of send-offs. But this year, my boys have been pretty good, and I think that's part of the reason we've been reasonably successful in pushing for top 4.
And you've got Karina this weekend. If you beat them, you're in the top 4.
Yeah. So, and that's, we went to their place midway through the season on a Friday night at 8:30 with the mist rolling in, and you couldn't see the other side of the park, and we got pumped 5-0. But I think we're a different side to that Friday night game. So we're up for it this week. We've got a big crowd. Anyone that's ever been to Moggill will appreciate the deck. So that will be in full flight. So, yeah, we're going to give it all we got.
Apart from Knights, any other surprises in this league this season? Is it would you say it's Metro's lack of form?
Yeah, they were a surprise, but I think again they might have lost a few players to some of the other teams, and with the QPL size, I know the guys that are a bit more qualified in this area might pick up on this, but there seems to be a lot of player movement from time to time. So if a player's playing well in the lower leagues, they'll get picked up quite quickly. So your roster's not guaranteed for the year. And I think Metro might have had maybe 3 or 4 go over the first 3 or 4 months of the season, which, as any coach knows, is a huge impact on your squad when you're planning for a season. So.
All right, let's move on now to the FQL 5. Corey.
Yes.
Pine Rivers. Mate, you're making it quite a considering where the club were 2 years ago, which was that's a rise from the ashes.
Yes.
Right, aren't they?
We are going all right. So when I first came in, they didn't have a team. They had a Metro team. Metro 7s or 8s, I think it was. And then I had to pretty much start it from scratch. And the first year I was there, we got promoted, which I don't know how because we finished 4th. The whole restructure of everything, and it sort of pushes up to go last year into the FQPL 5, which is kind of a big wake up call for the lads. We ended up obviously fighting for relegation like we are this year. But yeah, it's been good. Yeah. But it is a struggle. I think we're just suffering from injuries, players getting sent off, and it's been a big sort of battle this year. Yeah,
because you're taking on clubs with some of the biggest budgets in Queensland.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on budgets because we're one of the lowest leagues in Queensland almost, and people have got like there's some teams there that got 85,000 to spend on players. I've got a carton of beer to buy them. But yeah, no, it's been fun. It's obviously it's hard when you don't get the whole first and under 23s to training. I think last night, well, we started off with probably about 40 players. Then towards the end of the season, I think it dwindled to 10 players. So there's not much you can do with that sort of thing. But yeah, but we're battling. We're going well. Yes.
We've got 3 rounds to go, and it's effectively a 2-horse race. So mathematically, Old Bridge could still win the league. Old Bridge are taking on Yeronga this weekend, who seem to have got the wobbles a bit lately, and Barden Latrobe making their charge. So Yeronga, Barden, both on 40 points. How do you see it playing out?
I reckon Yeronga are going to take it because I got a couple of mates in that team, and they are class players. Barden, I don't think will scrape through. I don't think we'll get the premiership. But who knows? It's football. It happens. Yeah.
And in that top 4 race, we've got Jimboomba, Kangaroo Point Rovers, and Narangba. Who do you see getting that 4th spot?
It hurts me to say, but Jimboomba, I think Jimboomba will get it. We beat Jimboomba, I think 7-1 at their home ground, then turn around and lose 2-0. But I think they've gone undefeated for the last 6 games or something, I think. Until last week, I think they lost. But KPR, I don't. It's hard because I didn't really rate them as a team. They've got a couple of good players that can score goals from anywhere, but it's not really a team. Yeah.
All right, let's have a quick look at FQPL 6 now. Bras have secured promotion. When the final round, they are playing, as we mentioned in the show last week, Bras are playing Logan Village Falcons. Logan Village need to win, and they need to win by 10 goals to take out the league. Otherwise, it's all Brazzers. Logan Roos in 3rd. Parkridge, ACU, Teviot Downs, and Bethania Rams are all still within a shout of that final 4th place. A lot of competition for 4th place in all these leagues, which is very interesting. All right, let's shift again. Pat, I'm going to bring you back in here. We're going to talk FQPL 3 South Coast Men. It's been a great season for Southport, but they've had a wobble on the weekend, and they're only 3 points ahead of Robina now. The door is ajar.
Yeah, geez, look, at the beginning of the season, you'd have expected Robina to run away with this competition because they recruited really well and they're free scoring, as you can probably see from the ladder. But Southport, their coach is quite a character, and I think you find he's keeps pushing them and pushing them and pushing them every week. I can see them finishing top. It's going to be very interesting there because there's a few rumours out there that they don't want to go on to the next level. So we'll see what comes of that. But I can see Southport winning it. Kingscliff are doing very well. They've improved rapidly over the last couple of years. They've got a fantastic brand new facility down just over the border, and their coach Ross Fennick has been with them for 10 years, so more than 10 years. So got a lot of stability there. So no, it's been not a bad competition considering I think the number of MPL and QPL sides that are now out from the Gold Coast that are now out of that league. It kind of took the gloss off of what was once a very, very strong competition, But
how do you feel about that, Pat?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
It's a shame, really, because for me, they've and it's not only me here. I think they've taken the identity away from the regions. To be honest with you, you know, I think they're trying to take away the identity and wipe away the history. You know, which I'm quite passionate about, because we wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't for what went on before. You know, so, but yeah, we move on with the times.
Yeah. In the FQPL 3 South Coast Women's League, you've got this coach here, Gary French. He's a bit good, isn't he?
Yeah, well, look, I've known Frenchie, so Karl for 30. I've known him for 30 odd years. He's very, very good in the lady space. He worked in America for 8-10 years, so he's well connected over there. Wasn't a bad player in his time either, by the way. He obviously was when he went to Souths. A lot of people followed him from the Gold Coast to Souths, and we approached him. Adrian Porchik, our sponsor, as the chairman, is very, very passionate about the women's game. So, you know, watch this space, because I think he wants us to go as far as we possibly go. I think he'd even look at W League if the opportunity came along. That's how passionate he is.
Oh, wow.
Our team just romped it this year, and personally, I think it's been a bit of a mistake, Football Queensland, letting them play there, because, you know, we've had 2 or 3 teams have forfeited against us. That doesn't look good for the women's game, or doesn't look good for the game, full stop.
It's been the closest games, but hasn't it?
Yeah, the forfeits. Yeah, 3-0. You're dead set right there, Dan. So it's you know, we probably should have been accepted into QPL 2, but they didn't want to upset the credibility of the pyramid. Yet they did it further up the league with, I think, with Pine Hills or North Pine or something else. So, but again, it is what it is. So we'll just battle through the leagues.
All right. The FQPL 4, congratulations to Ormo on securing promotion. Broadbeach United, their under 23s are currently top of the league. Pacific Pines and Palm Beach under 23s rounding out the top 4. Pimpama and Surfers Paradise under 23s are also within a shot of the finals race there, with 1 round to go. All right, quickly want to chat about the Sunshine Coast competitions. There's some fantastic leagues happening there. As I just quickly search for my ladders. Where are my ladders? We did have Caloundra lined up to be on the show today. It's just a little bit late, and we've got far too much going on to get them on, so we'll get them on the show next week. But Caloundra in the men have now got an 8-point lead in the men's competition. So it looks like it's all done and dusted there. Well done to Caloundra. This is their first premiership in their 50-year history, I believe. So congratulations to them. Woombye in second place, Noosa and Kawana rounding out the top 4. Here comes Kawana. I'll just quickly have a chat about the women's competition, because that is a ding-dong league there as well. Maroochydore, 1 point ahead of BG's. Now, has this competition finished? I think there's 1 round to go. Yes, so Maroochydore taking on Woombye this weekend, who are in 4th place. BG's are taking on Gympie, who are in 8th place. One of those 2 teams is going to win the league. So exciting final round in that league. Quickly to Southwest Queensland competition. St Albans are back on top. They are on 37 points. Willowburn are on 35. And in the women's, it is Willowburn now with a 3-point lead over Highfields. They've swapped positions over the past couple of weeks. So Willowburn now in the box seat. All right, guys, let's bring everyone back in. We've got a couple more things to talk about before we wrap up the show. Football Queensland announced during the week that Nudgee Recreation Reserve is now their North Brisbane home of football. Good news, right? Who wants to jump in on that one?
It's great news because it's going to football and not another sport. I did hear it was going to be multi-sport use though. Can anyone confirm or is it just pure football?
It's not 100% clear, and if you look at the pictures, you could see that there might be scope for a few other sports here and there, but I can see at least 3 fields that can be used there.
I suppose it all depends on what it's going to be used for. It's only going to be 5 minutes from Brendale, isn't it? It's not far from Brendale, is it?
Yeah.
Too far away. What do you think, Daniel?
I think originally before as it was developed for multi-sport use, touch football and a few other sports. Then it went to tender, and I think my understanding is Football Queensland won the tender for the facility. So look, it just now the interesting part is what happens next. Is it going to be a base for whatever Football Queensland decide to do from a rep perspective? How's it going to be utilised? They're going to host around a week there from juniors, and make it sort of a magic round. I'm not sure. Great to have facilities, no doubt about that, but just be interested to see, what Football Queensland utilise the facility for, how it benefits players and the clubs.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's going to be more for juniors
in the plan either. So it's just fields. So that might be something that they might need to attend to in the future as well. All right, let's leave it at that, shall we? All right, Karl, you're still with us?
Still here.
Excellent. All right, let's get to the game tonight. Australia v England. You coached the national team before. Tell us about tonight and what sort of just give me your thoughts on the game.
Prefer it wasn't England, but I mean, better time to play them, isn't it? So I think we're good enough to go through. And I think you got the whole nation behind them, so that's a massive advantage. So yeah, be a good game. I think everyone's still a bit nervous, aren't they? But look, I think we've got the quality to get through. So fingers crossed we get through.
How do you think Tony Gustafson's done during the tournament?
He's got a clear strategy that he knows how he that he's set up, and I think the Sam Kerr thing's probably thrown a spanner in his works last minute. I guess that just highlights the how important it is to have Plan B, C, and D to go. But look, he's done well. We're into the semis, so you can't, it's easy to have hindsight and go back. Should have done this, should have done that. But the reality is, we're in the semis against England, so he's done well.
Yeah, I find myself at the 75 minute every game screaming at him to make us up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that depends how the game plays out. I think maybe the first game, if you were going to be critical, I think it was the first one, he went to a pre-planned idea too early. I think we were holding on for a little bit. I think once you stop attacking, you're inviting pressure. So, but look, it's international football. They're the best footballers in the world, so they're not easy games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and he's done well. Well, he's been very cagey, I guess, in what information gets out, so no one really knows what's going on, which is also a plus. If you're an opposition coach trying to find out what Australia is going to do, he's made their life a lot harder. So,
what do you think, Pat? Who'd have thunk it first?
Well, Pat, are you going for England or Australia to start?
Invested in football.
No. I'm going for Australia because I've been here for 40 years, so I'm fair dinkum, aren't I?
I can see the England flag behind you. Hang on.
I was fortunate enough. They were in camp on the Gold Coast for 3 weeks, staying at Royal Pines and training at Metricon. And I've worked quite closely with Mel Andrietta in the past, as has Karl as well. And she came to us to help them out with some with some boys to help them in their training. So I probably, over a period of 3 weeks, I probably saw 12, 13 of their sessions. Really well organised, really relaxed atmosphere. I have to say this about Tony Gus, I can't say his name, Tony G. He when I came in there on the first day, he came down and sat with me and probably spoke to me for 15, 20 minutes. So pure class. He didn't have to do that. We were just supplying him with players, you know. I don't think he's left any stone unturned. I think he probably made in the Nigeria game, he probably moved people out of where they're comfortable and broke up some relationships. But he learnt from that and he corrected it, didn't he? And they've been good ever since. I mean, I know I was reading a load of stuff on social media about Sam Kerr, that they were saying that she was never fit and she came to Australia injured in the first place. I promise you, she took part in every session I saw over that period of time. So that, you know, that what happened and what he said has happened is completely true. Tonight is going to be interesting. He said himself, a lot of his players either are playing in the W League or are on the bench for teams overseas, and he's playing against a team of superstars basically in England. So he's playing the underdog card really well. I think we'll win it. I think people are going to step up tonight. I think Australia are going to win it. It'll be close, but I think they'll win it, and I think the crowd's going to play a major part in it. So let's hope they make some noise.
Guys, I'll throw it over to the rest of you.
Australia are definitely going to win. I think whoever wins tonight will win the World Cup, because I watched Spain play the other night. Was it last night? Monday night. Yeah, and I just thought they were a bit average. And you look at Australia, and they just got the players in there to, I think, to do the job for us. Yeah, so I'm team Australia every day of the week. Yeah, and we'll see how we go.
Dan and Daniel, anything to add?
Yeah, look, I think.
it's been...
sorry, Dan, you go.
No, you go, mate. You go.
Look, I think the point about the crowd being behind them, the whole country, I mean, that gives you another 15, 20%, I reckon, in the legs when you're out there. From what I've seen from England, they're quite strategic, but I think I could see England going ahead in the first half, 1-0, and then trying to park the bus. And I think Australia will ride home strong and maybe a 2-1 result. Sammy Kerr comes on and responds to the big crowd and knocks a goal in with 5 to go. So I think you're right too, Corey, is it? Yeah, with the Spain team, I don't think they were impressive last night. So I think who wins this game tonight will go on, probably. To get your sports bets in, 2-1.
I'm doing that now.
I just think from a spectacle, I think it's been good to watch. Tactically, the teams have been strong, and I think because it's slightly slower than the men's game, particularly at the World Cup level, and no one's really gone park the bus from day one, which the last World Cup we saw it was a fair bit of anti-football, I guess, and some teams were successful doing that. We haven't seen that in this World Cup. So regardless of the team, whether it's Haiti or the Matildas, they're all tried to play football and play out, which, you know, there's no rules to say you have to, but it's just been, you know, pretty good to watch that everyone's having a go. So whether you're neutral or a football fan, I think that's probably what's encompassed the country, because everyone's supporting the Matildas, but a lot of people just tend to be getting on board, supporting the game, which I think there's not a lot of rolling around. There's not a lot of that stigma that the men's game has for some of those non-football fans. So I think it's been intriguing to watch that. Obviously, we're invested in the game, but you're hearing people who hate football or that everyone's coming up having a conversation about you, and they all seem to be positive about it, which is just first time in my life I've experienced it. So it's really good to see.
And there's been some goals too, some class goals.
Hopefully we get plenty tonight. It's been great to have this from a personal perspective, just having people who
No, you've gone. We can't hear you.
Everyone all supporting the game that we all love. Now, guys, I want to end this show. I want to throw back to Pat. I want to hear a story about a young Karl Dodd. Pat, you of course played with his father.
Young Karl Dodd. Actually, back in the early days, I don't know how old you were, Karl. Now I'm thinking about it, but you assisted me with one of the rep teams, didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
It was under 13s or something.
Yeah.
So he's my assistant coach. So I taught him everything he knows. No. Karl's. I haven't got any funny stories. He's always been really serious about his football. I'd hate to have. Did I ever play against you, Karl?
Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe when I was younger, playing with the old man, and it was that third division games or something, maybe, or I can't remember.
I might have played against you against Palmy or something, but let's put it this way: I was always glad I was in another part of the field when Karl was playing, because he was an uncompromising. So, had a good career, mate.
Well, you've played longer than anyone I know, Pat. Are you still playing, or you're actually retired now?
No, I haven't retired, but my body's taken a rest. My knee's starting to play up on me, mate. My good knee is starting to play up on me. So I've been too busy this year. So, but I do miss it.
Good stuff. All right, guys, we might end the show there. Good luck to the Tillies tonight. Of course, if you're watching this on the Thursday, you'll know how it's all panned out. Now, for those of you, we've got this show this week. I'm also just about to do a chat with some people from the Queensland Christian Soccer Association. So there'll be another video coming out shortly, all about the church league. So look out for that one as well. I'm Darren. This has been the Village Law SEQFC preview show. Thank you for tuning in. Go the Tillies, and good luck to all the teams in their final few rounds of the competition. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.